right. Nathan Visagie,
Sick.
welcome to the Passion Project, buddy. Thank you so much for being here.
Bro, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm
Stoked. Super fun. You know, this is one of those really fun examples for me of, and I say it all the time, you don't know who's in the room. Mm-hmm. So we had met kind of through the Ben Carlson paddle that Ben did go, and we'll talk about that paddle, 30-mile open water paddle. And you were one of the paddlers. But after that paddle that you did this summer, you started showing up in my feed. Probably because we have a lot of cross-pollination of people, or your posts about the Ben. But all of a sudden I started seeing you in this whole different light. And that light is this whole passion quest that you're on to surf the biggest waves in the world. Yeah. And it's such a rad story. And I was like, so it goes back, like we could have been talking while we were paddling and I wouldn't have known anything about it. So what I look at you kind of as this success story of social media. It's like, for me, that's what social media should be. Like rad storytelling, super upbeat and positive, inspirational and really cool. There's no crap in it. It's not like, it's all a really cool story. And what I love about it and why you're here is like, it's someone that, like, I love people that are doing badass things, like good people doing good things. And this is a great example of people, like, I think, following a dream or a passion or whatever it is. And we're going to uncover all of it because it's really cool. But for someone, and I think you're what, 24 now?
24, yeah.
Okay.
Older by the day.
Older by the, well, let's not go down that road. We had talked about that offline earlier. Super cool story when people, like, again, have a goal and go after it. You know, we're at the very beginning of 2026 and I have a line that I always use. I stole it from someone, but like a goal without a plan is just a wish. And a lot of people go through life, oh, I want to do this. I want to surf big waves. I want to do whatever, but don't plan for it and then don't go execute. And you definitely have. And your whole social media feed is all about the path that you've been on and how you've done it and the pitfalls, like super honest. Like, here's how many times I've eaten shit. Here's how many boards I've broken. This is what I've learned, you know, the injuries and all that.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. And just for sake, what is if anybody's listening and you want to like go down the rabbit hole of Nathan Visagie while we're doing it, what's your Instagram and your YouTube handle right out of the gate?
It's supposed to be Jet Ski Surfer. On Instagram, it's got a few X's at the end, but if you search my full name, Nathan Visagie, should pop up.
But it's Jet Ski Surfer XXR, right?
Yeah, on Instagram, Jet Ski Surf XXR.
Oh, got it. Perfect. So again, but I'd recommend it. It's one of those feeds you want to follow because it's really cool storytelling, incredible visuals, but like this whole path. But we had talked about it right before we hit record, you know, your life as a content creator, which you really are. So you're a big wave guy following with this pursuit and you're a content creator and you're really, really good at it. But if people want to find the whole story about you and the genesis of this project that you're on and how you got into it and what it's really been like, they have to watch a whole bunch of 30-second clips. So we're going to provide the whole story of your life and how you got here, what you've been doing and where you're going from here and everything along the way, which is rad. And that's exactly why we're here. So thank you for doing it.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do
that. Man. Again, it's really cool. And again, this is one of those things I always tell people and I tell my kids, like, talk to people because you never know that person next to you, what they're doing, what's rad, what's really interesting, who are they, like, and this is just one of those cool surprises that we get to do. So let's go back in time because I'm really interested to find out like the genesis story of you, like how you got into this spot where not only you're like, oh, I love to surf or whatever, but I'm going to foreshadow, I'm going to go get a van, I'm going to live out of it, I'm going to chase surf, I'm going to do all the training, I'm going to do everything I can to chase this pursuit of riding the biggest waves all over the world. Like how that is, if there's a goal out there, like for everybody, again, from like here, we're just entering the new year and people are doing their New Year's resolutions or their goal setting, most of which don't succeed. Just go to the gym.
Yes.
Go to the gym this month and then go to the gym in 2 months and it's right back to the way it was. So for somebody to be really going after it and accomplishing it, fully executing it, that's what I want to dig into. But let's talk about. We're here in Newport, Costa Mesa. I know you drove up. Where did you grow up? And let's talk real quick about what that was like for you.
Yeah, I grew up actually in Mission Viejo, so a little inland from the beach. My dad's from South Africa, total motocross guy, never touched a surfboard. And he was kind of like, do you want a surfboard? Do you want a dirt bike? And I guess
what about, can I say both?
That's what I told him. I was like, I could have been good at both. You never know. But I guess my eyes lit up when he said surfboard, and bought a Costco board, took me down to Newport, and learned just a few blocks from here, really. But
Down at Blackie's?
more like West New, or closer to the river mouth. But
Gotcha.
I feel like it was a slow progression to get into all the big wave stuff. It was just loving surfing. I think Chasing Mavericks, when that movie came out, like that was probably a huge factor. And
Got it. Well, we'll go into that. So let me ask you this. So dad, like really into moto? Like
semi-pro.
Okay,
like
so he's a goer.
Yeah.
All right.
Like he's
Did you get that gene from him?
I think so. He's broken his collarbone like 4 times. So I've got mine once so far. So there's definitely a few footsteps, and I think maybe part of a gene there with the adrenaline.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely bonded like mountain biking in the past and doing those kinds of things.
Got it. Yeah, I would imagine. And what about mom? Does mom look at you and go, shit, I've got another adrenaline junkie in the family?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It's probably a few steps she wish I wouldn't follow, but they seem okay with it. I think the more that I put effort into like the safety side of it and the training, the more they realize how serious I take it. And I think they feel okay with it at that point.
Got it. Well, I would imagine as a parent watching your kid pursue, like you can pursue anything and you're like, I want to surf the biggest waves in the world. Well, daunting, right? But yeah, we'll talk a lot about the training and all the prep that you do because it's very well documented, but I know you did not mess around. Like you made a decision and you went. Mm-hmm. Growing up, so you started surfing. How old were you when you started surfing?
I think I was 5.
Okay, so you've been surfing better part of your life already.
Yeah.
So you're 24, but you've been surfing.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. All right. So you've got a good base. What else were you into like growing up?
That's a good
Any
question.
hobbies or anything or?
Yeah, well, I guess social media, I was into that for sure too. If you go back into the YouTube archives, you'll find videos of me showing my leopard geckos and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from maybe 13, 14 years ago. So I think plan A was always like pro surfer. Plan B was YouTuber. And I think I've been following the breadcrumbs of that.
Interesting. Okay, so you started doing your own channel very young.
Yeah.
About the same time you started surfing.
Pretty close.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
And what I just heard you say is like, it was one of 2 paths, pro surfer or YouTube content creator.
Yeah. And
you've kind of done that a little differently though.
Yeah.
Right?
So yeah, I guess I'm trying to merge those things now, and I'm slowly figuring out what that looks like, putting them together. So that's been cool.
Well, you're doing a hell of a job on both. What about, is there any other things that you were into or you're into now? Well, let's not even go there. I saw some art stuff that you looked like you were doing. And maybe it was just like the boards and stuff you're doing. Like, was art something that you picked up early or did that just come naturally over time?
I picked that up probably around middle school. I moved to San Clemente going into 7th grade. And I remember I saw like the electrical box out front of the school, and it was painted by a kid a little older than me named Jackson Hinkle. And it was just kind of like Drew Brophy style, surf art. And I think I just saw that, tried to draw it, and that was the beginning of that. So then I guess I did like art growing up though. Like, when I was a kid, we'd do like art competitions with your friends, and it was always fun to do those. So,
well, and art translates well into content creation because it's all about, making something that's visually pleasing that people want to look at. Different way to get there. But again, I just saw it as I was doing some research on you. Like, it seems like you're doing a lot of painting on the boards and in that same kind of style of surfy art seems to be kind of flow through you.
And I think going back to like the childhood, like, growing up, I wanted to start a business. I was always like wanting to be an entrepreneur and do my own thing in whatever way I could. So I remember I would design shirts and hoodies and different things. And I've always wanted to bring the art aspect into that. And that's something I haven't done, but I want to, step into in the next year or so.
Got it. Well, okay. So you go through school, did you play any sports or were you just surfing in moto and whatever?
I played basketball because I was always like a head taller than everyone.
You still are?
Yeah, still tall. Soccer. I tried pretty much everything. I skated. I played baseball. I played soccer. Like, my parents were good at getting us out and trying to do a little bit of everything. I think surfing was always distinctly like the far-fetched favorite, but I'd like to think of myself as like a jack of all trades. Like, I got into mountain biking in high school. We took that pretty serious. Like, that was almost my main thing for a while. And then we actually rode stand-up jet skis my whole life too, growing up. So like, we'd go out to the river and ride the skis. And
okay, so that's where the jet ski surf XXR.
That's where the name comes
from.
The
jet ski.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get into that too, because I was wondering about that. It sounds like so many people in the room, so many of the athletes that I have in here, people want to be able to say yes to anything that comes their way. So like, you want to go mountain bike? Yeah. You want to go paddle the ocean? Yeah. You want to go surf anything? Yeah. You want to go ride, personal watercraft or whatever? Yeah. So it opens doors.
Yeah.
So you can say yes,
Definitely.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unless you're injured, which we'll talk about
Unless
also.
you're injured, yeah.
Which is never fun. We know that one too well. All right. So you go to high school down there. What post high school, where have you gone? Or what have you, is that where this started? Is there any college in there? Is there any career path? Or is it you're like, I'm going to go surf big waves? Like what started, when did this all begin? And then we'll get into that.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like a lot of people I meet, like when I was in Portugal, I met all these guys from Brazil and they were just like, I just want to surf big waves. And some of them had just started surfing a few years ago. And they're like out here paddling Nazaré. And I'm like, this is crazy. Because for me, it was like this slow, it had been there the whole time that I wanted to do this, but it was like a slow discovery and like true realization that this was what I wanted to do. And it's funny because like in my mind, I'm like, no one, or like, I don't want to go surf those waves. It's like, I feel compelled to, like, I think it started off as like, I just want to be able to go surf any day of the year, and then it was like, those days got bigger and bigger. When I went to school in San Diego. So it was like, once I moved down there for blacks and stuff, it was like, okay, well, now the biggest day of the year is a lot bigger than San Clemente. And, I got a few buddies I'd recruit to go paddle out on those days and just sit there undergunned and, pooping our pants pretty much. But I think it was that slow realization of like combining the adrenaline from the jet skiing, from the mountain biking, and then realizing you can get that through surfing, which was always my biggest calling. And being able to combine all those things was eye-opening. Really through college, I think I really made that realization that this is what I want to do, kind of year by year.
That's super cool, like the slow bubbling of it. What were you focusing on in college?
Yeah, I studied environmental science.
Oh.
So I've always tried to just follow my heart with whatever it is, like I never figured like environmental science is going to make me the most money. I just wanted to always kind of keep myself centered around what interests me, because if I'm going to do it my whole life, I might as well enjoy it. So I studied that. The plan was kind of like go into research or start a kelp farm or do something with that, which still on the far back burner of like maybe one day I could do something with it. But yeah, just kind of try to keep around the ocean, I think.
Our story is very similar. I went to college. I went to USD. It sounds like you went to UC. Did you go to
SDSU.
You went to San Diego State. So yeah, I didn't go far either. I just wanted to surf. I only went to schools that had good surf close by. And then I've got degrees that have nothing to do with my career. And because I did what I loved, I did art and I did graphic design. And those are my degrees, marine science and art. Yeah. Nothing to do with what I do, but I loved what I was doing. I worked super hard. I did well in it. And then I realized thereafter, I was like, I don't think this is what I actually want to do as a career. But I loved it. I was passionate about those while I was in school, and it made school captivating for me.
Yeah.
Then I figured out, well, maybe that's not the right choice, but I totally appreciate that.
Yeah.
So you go through school. Okay, let's turn it over to the next step. So you graduate college 2 years ago?
2023, yeah.
2023. And this quest that you're on started when?
I think the most defining moment was there was like a bomb cyclone swell. If you remember, like January of 2023, it was that. I think it was that winter with all the crazy rain we had. And normally I'd go up to Northern California every winter for a little surf trip, and that was like the one year I didn't. And I surfed blacks with my friends, and it was like legitimately like 20 to 25 foot. And I'm on like a 6'3" board. Yeah. No idea, just like paddling out there. Just
not the right equipment.
The right equipment. Like, just like, I'm going to go do it. Just paddle over to like the main peak with everyone's on 8 foot, 9 foot boards and paddle for a wave. And I look down at it. I'm like, there's no way I'm making it to the bottom of this, And I think from that day on, it really kind of set me forward. And, I was doing things in college, partying and smoking and doing these things that I would look myself in the mirror and just be like, this isn't who I want to be. Like, and it was funny because I'd say it so clearly. I was like, I want to be a big wave surfer. I want to be an athlete. And I was doing all these things that were pulling me further from it. And I don't think I fully acknowledged that was what I wanted to do until I moved home kind of like last year, 2024. And then I started the whole Instagram and the whole series and everything.
Got it. That's great. So but there was a defining moment. It sounds like that purple blob or that bomb cyclone came through. wanted to go out and chase it. You were under gun, but you did it, and something happened there.
Yeah.
And then I love the time you're like, I realized I wasn't living the life I wanted to live, and I wanted college is. That's what college. I mean, that's
what college is for.
That's what it's for. You're supposed to figure out what you're into, what you're not into,
figure out,
and what you need to press the brakes on, and what you want to put the accelerator down on. So this is about a year and a half ago that you kind of came up with this. Okay, let me ask you this. We're going to now go down the road of this quest that you're on.
Yeah.
What do you call it? And what do you call it? Is there a name to this mission, to this adventure that you're on? Do you like have a air quote name or a hashtag name for it?
I don't know if I do. I think my premise for it was just like, I moved home from college and it was either, I needed to either get a job, like a proper, grown up job, or I want to go.
Overrated. Don't do it unless you have to.
Yeah. I was like, I'm either going to get this proper corporate research job, whatever it is, and, move in with my friends somewhere in San Diego, or I'm going to chase this social media and this surfing dream that I've had forever. And I was like, my thought process was just, I might as well give it a couple years. And like, if I'm 23 or 22 and broke, whatever, or if I'm 27, 28 and broke, it doesn't matter. I don't know. I want to like die knowing that I gave it everything I had. And I believe if I give it everything I have, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to make it work. So I think it was just, maybe not a specific name, but it was just like this time period is dedicated to, just go all in. Don't worry about the money, just spend all the money, travel, and try to figure it out along the way.
I've said it to my kids. I've said it to young guns in here like yourself. I think it's the best decision you can possibly make. Once you meet the right person or get the right job or whatever, and you end up getting locked into whatever you're doing, and hopefully you're super stoked on it, it's all great. But like, it's hard to get back the time where you can just go. Yeah. And you can risk being broke, and you can go.
Yeah.
You're comfortable living on $10 a day and sleeping in the dirt, right? Dirt bagging is kind of, you've got a white van out there. It's essentially dirt bagging, which what they call
100%,
all the rock climbers when they go live out on, in Yosemite. Yeah. It's called dirt bagging. It's kind of what you're doing surfing.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing for me. I'm low maintenance. I could live in the van, eat peanut butter and jellies, and I could never make it with the whole social media career dream. And I'd be just as content going out and just living it in and surfing and working a few months out of the year and, figuring that out. And I think that's the whole dream, is just to spend as much time as I can doing what I love. And I think every once in a while I'm like, if I were to die today, I'm like, I'd be happy. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm living the life that's true to what I want to do. And I don't have a lot of wasted or regretted time at this point. So I'm trying to keep it that way.
Hallelujah. Good for you. It's so good. I mean, I think, and we'll talk a lot about travel because you've been doing a ton. I think travel and experience in the world is so important. And as you're meeting, because I know you're doing a lot of it, you meet Australians, New Zealanders, Germans, Canadians, and they're traveling for a year or two after college, after university. And it's almost like a rite of passage that's looked very highly upon in those countries. Here, if you have a gap on your resume, often they're like, were you in jail? Were you in rehab? Where were you?
Yeah, you gotta explain it away.
I'm such a huge believer of the importance of travel and getting out of here and going and doing all that and not having to worry about, but again, it also comes down to your goal. My son's a little bit younger than you, and he's super passionate about his career and he's loving it. Yeah. And you're like, good, follow your passion. Same thing.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you've been taking this opportunity just to go do it. Because as you said, what's your risk? Whether you're 23 or 27, you have plenty of time to build your career and build your life and get established. Go do stuff. I love it. Good for you. If somebody meets you right now or at any time over the last year and a half or whatever, and they see you in a parking lot or they recognize you from social media, do you have like what I would call like an elevator speech where somebody goes, so what are you doing? Like, do you have like that 30-second little like, here's what I'm doing? Like, do you have like...
I think a little bit.
What is it?
Sometimes it kicks in. It depends. If they're recognizing you, I guess they already know what you're doing. Well, I feel like it's always the same idea. It's like, oh, I'm trying to make a career out of big wave surfing. I'm doing the social media thing. Like when you're trying to explain it away or explain it quickly, maybe. But I don't know. It's been a weird like thing for me to go surfing and have people kind of look at you and be like, maybe recognize you. And because I think a lot of people growing up, you want like to be
recognition.
Like, yeah, you want like recognition, but in surfing, it's like I'd rather fly under the radar most of the time. Like, you paddle out, you don't want everyone.
Oh, there's that guy. Right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's that guy that's been making the videos about this place. And
well, how's that? We're jumping ahead and we'll come back, but like, how has that been? You had mentioned earlier to me offline that like you got out of the water at Mavericks or something and a young girl asked for your autograph or something like, or recognized you and came and talked to you, whatever.
Yeah.
Like how both maybe similar to the elevator speech, like when you talk to non-surfers or see if non-surfers come and recognize you, how is that? And then maybe the bigger question is when you paddle out at Mavericks or Nazare or whatever, and people go, that they know who you are. How do those two things feel? Like just maybe the recognition or the awareness of this guy.
It can, I feel like at the beginning I had like a little bit of a chip on my shoulder because it was more like I was judging myself or I was putting preconceived notions of what people might think about me in like a negative light. But the more it's like humbling, like the kids across the street, like they're all stoked on the surfing and stuff I'm doing. And like that one, the little girl at Mavericks that recognized me was just like, I never would have expected to have like a positive impact that I guess I have had in some ways, like I'll get messages from people that are like, oh, you inspired me to do a bodybuilding contest. And I'm like, that's awesome. Like I never would have thought about it. Into the big wave world, getting recognized. At first it was definitely nerve wracking, especially showing up at Mavericks finally after months of training and posting and
because that was, let's step back a little bit. And then we'll get into the Mavericks and the recognition. I know I asked you that, but it's curious. So you initially come up with this goal. I'm totally pressing pause on that other part because I think we want to connect the dots. So you talked earlier about having this vision to go do this, and then you have to go do it.
Yeah.
Right. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
So walk us through from decision from that day when you're out under gun at Blacks and it's big and you're like, ooh, I want to do this, to today. Like, how did you go? A lot of people have a goal. Again, a goal without a plan is just a wish. How did you go from wish to like doing the planning, putting it in process, figuring out like, let's walk through the whole path. We'll get back to recognition later. So from the day that you said, I want to go do this thing, I want to go chase surf and capture it for social media. What did you do?
I ignored it for about another year, just kept doing the same thing I was doing, which was the opposite of what I was wanting to do, which, like we were saying, college, it was a time of growing up too. Not all bad. But I think once I finally made that decision that I wanted to go surf Mavericks specifically, it was like, I genuinely thought I was going to die unless, like, I was like, I need to.
Before you went out there, just in going, I want to go do this thing, but I'm really scared. What do I have to do? Type of thing.
Just the whole time training for it, I'd be telling myself like, you got to do these next few reps, or like, you're not going to make it. And part of me believed it because I had no idea of what to expect. Like you see videos of that place and it just looks terrifying. Did
you go down this path? Did you bring anybody along with you, or did you just go down this path and all your friends were like, "What are you going to do?" Like.
Pretty much that, It was a lot of people were like, "You're gonna go." Yeah,
you were a one-man band.
A one-man band trying to figure it out, and that's what I realized along the way was there's not a ton of resources out there for someone that wants to figure out how to train for big waves. Like once you start doing it, you're like, okay, this is pretty straightforward. But for me at the beginning, I was kind of like, what do I do? So I was doing all these different workouts, and the social media helped because then people would be like, why are you doing that? Or you should be practicing this, and you kind of slowly pick it up. And that's one thing I still try to do today is like post my training, my workouts because I know I've got younger kids that follow me and they'll message me like, oh, I did this workout or that. So it was just a lot of learning and failing. And I was super disciplined though. It was like, I wouldn't eat any junk. I was really good on the workouts. I was just like, I'm going to die if I don't, I take it super serious all the time. It's like, it's a privilege to be out in waves like that anywhere in the world. And I've got friends that don't train, and that's fine for them maybe. But for me, it's like whatever happens at the end of the day, I just want to know I did everything to put myself in the best position, so I can have the best peace of mind.
Well, we can talk a lot about, and I think we will, about the difference of the camps of the people that come in super trained and very, very like from a risk management perspective, or the people that are just willing to go send it. And
that's a
not
good
prepared
discussion too,
right?
Yeah.
For sure. And I think that when we get into the safety dialogue, and you had mentioned maybe offline, like You went through, well, let's get, like I was going to mention BRAG, the big wave risk assessment group. Like you've done all of this training, but at the very beginning of it, you're trying to discern what you need to do. Talk about the transition of your body and your mindset and everything through this process, and how long you gave yourself from the time you started until you're like, I have X number of days until till winter comes and I'm going to go up to Northern California and go surf Mavericks. Like that's, I'm guessing, what you did, right?
Yeah, that was it. I mean,
how much time did you give yourself?
I started at end of August. So it was like really September, October, and then I paddled out beginning of November for the first time. So I really had maybe 2 months or so, a little over 2 months.
But what were your big wave chops before that? You'd mentioned like Blacks in San Diego and everything. Like you were pretty comfortable in good size surf, but like Mavericks, like legitimate big wave. Had you had any experience in that yet?
Not really. No, I mean, I'd surfed, in Monterey, like, and Ocean Beach in San Francisco, like the beach breaks and Blacks. And I was getting to the point by that point where I was like, okay, if it's maybe 15 to 18 foot, like I felt okay, So I think for me, and it's funny because the initial goal with Mavericks was like just to go out there and surf it, like a 20-foot wave, whatever, on like the smallest I could surf it really. And the idea of going out there like on those bigger days was just never even in the question. I was like, there's no way I'm going to go do that. And it's funny how that goal's changed, in the last year and a half. But no, I definitely had,
How's the goal changed?
Well, now I want to paddle, the biggest wave I possibly can at some point. So I guess it's grown a little bit.
Got it. Well, I'm guessing that means you found experience and comfort in what you've done so far.
Yeah. Yeah, I've realized my ceiling's further than I thought it was maybe. At the beginning it was like, there's no way I could survive that. Like I talked to my buddy and he's like, yeah, there was 30-foot, 40-foot sets coming through. And I remember talking to him, this was before the first season. And I was like, I can't imagine a 30-foot wave, like being out there on one. And then after, maybe I think I rode one or two, now, and it's like you go out there and you're like, that's not too bad, and I guess the bar moves up, right, slowly. So.
Well, growing up here in Southern California, you're in Capo Beach area, like it doesn't get big.
No.
Like I surfed my whole life here, but I never got comfortable in big surf. And the wedge is right here, which I know you've surfed a lot of and we'll talk about, but like that was never on my radar ever.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends were into it. Like I never picked up big waves. So it's a stair step. Like if you're John Florentine, grow up at Pipe and you're out there when it's 1 foot and 2 foot, or a lot of the kids that grow up here at the wedge, it's 1 foot, 2 foot. And then it's 20 foot and they've gradually learned
tolerance a bit.
But you're going like at 24 years old, 23 years old, you're like, okay, I'm going from 15 foot is kind of my max to like wanting to be able to surf the biggest waves in the world, which it's not even, it's a very different sport.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Different equipment, different safety protocols, different skill sets, different life and death risk, et cetera.
Yeah.
So talk real quickly about how you did train for that. Like what was it? Let's get into the tactics, like physical fitness, nutrition, breath work. Like what were you doing?
Yeah.
And I know you've documented a lot of it. It's cool, but like walk us through it.
Yeah. I think as far as diet, nutrition, it was always trying to eat as clean as I could, right? So just more whole foods. I'm not crazy on any specific diet these days, but it's just, fruits and veggies when you can, salmon, chicken, steak,
a little different than the college diet?
A little different, yeah. Well, it's funny because I was like a super picky eater my whole life until maybe 2 years ago. So it was like bread and cheese and fruit kind of diet.
Very French and very good. I could live on that diet.
I could live on it too still, but so it was good. It was like a food renaissance. I was eating the best I could. And for training, I think it's just, it really is a matter of your mind more than anything. I think when we look at some of the best big wave surfers in the world, it's like they're not peaking until maybe their 30s, 40s, and even 50s. Like they're riding the best waves of their lives, some of the best waves ever ridden. And I think it has to do with, the mental fortitude, the experience, all those things almost matter more than the physical. The physical is really a vessel for me to get the mindset there. So like through the discipline of, strength training, I'll do compound lifts, squat, bench, deadlifts, and I'll keep it pretty simple. I don't go super heavy. Part one, because of my heart condition, so I'm not supposed to go super heavy. And then a lot of cardio, paddling, swimming, running, like just trying to be athletic, right? Just trying to be in shape. And then the breath work, I like to do static a lot, so I'll do a mix of different tables, just laying down in bed with a low heart rate, and then I'll do those sprints up the stairs and hold your breath as long as you can. And I think it's through pushing yourself in all of those things that you really build the fortitude of like, okay, I'm going to be calm. And this year, especially like deep end fitness, I jumped in a lot more on those classes. And I think the confidence from that, like I enjoyed getting smashed at Puerto and Nazaré more than I ever have. It was almost fun. You know, like you're just getting ragdolled in the sand and you're like,
well, that's told you that you've overcome or you've done the prep, right?
Yeah,
Because most of us unprepared would be like trying not to drown. And panic would be setting in, which we know goes against everything you talked about. And for anybody's sake, some of the things you talked about, deep end fitness is like a CO2 tolerance, high impact, underwater training, very organized, very prepared. But and then they go and do you do any of the underwater torpedo league? Which is like tackle football underwater with some of the best water athletes in the world.
Oh, it's crazy.
If you've never watched it, it's underwater torpedo league. Bring it up on YouTube. It's unbelievable. But it's something that you do if you're a big wave surfer. Or an elite water person, because it's mimicking. You are getting beat up underwater while you're on one breath.
It's one of the best training grounds for sure for big waves. I remember I had one goal where I was down right by the goal, and I don't know what I had in me that day, but I like outlasted like 2 or 3 guys trying to wrestle it from me, and then they all went up, and I was just like, no, you know, I was able to score, and that was like I was close to blacking out on that one, but I was like, my team was all stoked, and I was like, that was the best simulation of a big wave possible, because you have no say in when it lets you go, and those guys are gnarly. So they're all jiu-jitsu guys, and
right. Think couple like, you know, an elite breath hold like free diver with a jiu-jitsu black belt, like and you're underwater,
and like Navy like Army Rangers, Navy SEAL stuff.
It is elite water stuff. Anybody can do it. You train for it. Just as a PSA, don't ever do any of the breath hold stuff in the water by yourself. You always have a buddy.
Always with a friend.
Be very, very smart. I know you went through a lot of this. You went through the BRAG course. But before we get into it, you mentioned your heart. So for anybody's sake, can you share a little color on what you've got going on?
Yeah. I was born with like a congenital bicuspid aortic valve. So your aorta normally has 3 little leaflets that kind of open and let blood through. Mine essentially has 2, and then so it's a little less efficient. So in theory, my heart would have to work a little harder. So it's kind of funny because growing up, like I wasn't allowed to do junior guards. I have like notes that are like, don't make them do the push-ups in PE. Like, and I was this chubby little kid because I was a kid. So I was like, oh, sick. I don't have to do PE, you know? And like, and it definitely played into my psyche for a long time. Trying to get over that took a while, but it's been cool to, I guess.
How did you overcome that? Like what changed where they said, oh, I guess you can, or did you just say, F it, I'm just going to do it?
I think I just said, I'm going to do it. You know, like I wasn't supposed to do rock climbing or pull-ups and stuff, but I'm like, dude, pull-ups are my favorite exercise. So like I started doing these things and it was a lot of anxiety. Like I went through dark times of, you know, terrible anxiety related to all of that. And it was really just through, exposure therapy, accepting, forgiving yourself, you know, all the hard work that no one wants to do, but you have to do to get past it. And then it was like going all in, and I made the decision of like, I'm gonna train as hard as I can, and even if that shortens the life span of this valve, it's worth it, because I gotta live this life how I wanna live it, you know, and I'd rather die younger doing the things I love than live to old age but not be able to see what I'm capable of.
Yeah. You had mentioned to me that you may have to do multiple over your lifetime valve replacements.
Yeah, so you pretty much have 2 options. You can either do like a metal valve, but then you have to be on blood thinners, which with my track record would not be a good thing.
What track record of injuries?
Probably wouldn't last more than a season at that point. Or you do like an artificial or like a pig's valve, but those last maybe 10 or 15 years.
Got it.
But the silver lining has been like through all this training, at my last checkup, which would have been maybe a few months ago, I got the best numbers I've ever had. So it's kind of just been a steady thing that, you know, we're watching, and like that's been really relieving for me mentally to be like, well, I'm pushing myself as hard as I can, and my body's in the best shape, my heart's doing the best it's been, so it's kind of a good green light for me to keep going with all of that.
Well, if you're training hard, eating well,
it makes sense that
it
would be happy.
You're giving it the best chance you can.
Yes, right? But it's just funny because like as a kid growing up, it's like the doctors had almost convinced me that like doing those workouts and stuff were hurting me or like gonna make it worse. And I think as long as within reason, you know, if I'm not trying to deadlift 1,000 pounds, like I think it's all been really beneficial.
Yeah, I don't think you're cut out to.
I don't think I have.
You have a swimmer body, maybe not a powerlifter body. Well, thank you for sharing that. Super interesting. And I think from a listener perspective, like you can overcome a lot and you're like surfing the biggest waves, training for it. And while you have it and you're and meanwhile, you're finding out, gosh, the better I take care of it, the better my heart is doing. Super, it's a good lesson.
I've had people in my life that have been examples, because I'm sure there's a lot. What I've realized through life is everyone has something. For me, it's the heart valve. For someone else, it might be asthma. For someone, it might be something else. And everyone's got some kind of hurdle, whatever it might be, that makes us, it's a valid excuse as to why we shouldn't or can't maybe do things how we want to do them. But I want to be an example for people, that you can do it, because I've had people in my life that have been examples for me. And it was cool because I did a podcast with this kid in the UK, and he had like some heart condition, but he was like wanting to get into big wave surfing. And like we were talking earlier off camera, it's interesting how the universe plants these people in your life, like mentors I've had that have shown me like, oh, you can do it, random people I've met. And then this kid too, where I was like, if I can be an example of like just doing it anyways, then that was like one, a really fulfilling moment for me, I guess.
That's rad. Well, we had talked offline. We'll talk to you again about what this, and we will get back to it, like what it feels like to become recognized in the world. Like, I think there's a tipping point where beyond it, like my daughter would love to be a celebrity, but we're always like, I don't think you would, because you can't go anywhere, do anything. You're always in the limelight. You always got to put your makeup, like, right? And but if you're recognized in this like niche world of action sports and pushing limits and really positive, bring it on. It's a super cool, I think, accomplishment to be able to have that kind of impact on others, like this kid and this little girl you saw at Mavericks and everything. Super neat. Back to the fitness and training, how much of it is, you had mentioned mental versus physical. How much of it is the mental game for you?
I don't want to say all of it, because of course you need to be in good shape, like to make that paddle out at Mavericks or Nazare or wherever it's going to be. And you need to be strong enough that those waves won't just rip you apart. But I'd say it's got to be like 70% mental, 80% mental. And going back to like the deep end fitness, I can always tell when I've been cutting corners, because you jump in that pool and it brings it all right out of you. Like I've had the most like guttural feelings of like, I'm going to drown, like in the pool, like feels like you're drowning, that panic that sets in, just like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to surf big waves. Like it's not worth it. But then on the other side of it, you always come out like feeling indestructible. Like I went through that, and it's like putting yourself into that stress is what makes you feel better in the moment. Because for me, every wipeout at Mavericks this first season, it was like, it feels like you're like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone. Like that's the way it's like every wipeout you come out of it feeling stronger and like, oh, that wasn't actually that bad. But in the moment, you're just like going over the falls on like a 25-foot wave, like I'm going to die, and then like you're getting picked up and you're that weightless feeling. And, but by the time you come out of it, you're like, oh, okay, I can go on the next one.
Yeah. Most of us are fearful just listening. I mean, if you can imagine going over backwards, holding your breath, 25-foot, know you're going to be just ragdolled for the next minute. You might take another one on the head. Like there's so many things about, I think about times I've been held down in 2-foot surf, and I'm like, I might not. It's crazy for normal humans to watch what you guys are doing, big wave guys, and you're now in that category, which has got to feel really good.
It's crazy.
And to know not just what it takes, but like when you're putting yourself in that position. But when you say I came up from getting just absolutely obliterated and I was fired up or I was stoked, like I had Chuck Patterson in here, big wave guy for the last 30 years, incredible waterman athlete on any craft. And he's like, I was at Jaws and I got just destroyed, and I came up and I was so fired up. It was so rad. And people are like, dude, you're psycho. Like
that's
what's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's how it is though. It's like, I think it was in April at Mavs, I got caught inside, learned the hard way to bail earlier, bailed too late. I see JoJo and all these other guys.
When you say bailed, you're paddling out.
A set's coming and we're trying to get over it, and you can't duck dive a big board. So you have to at some point, like once the waves get, you can paddle over it, straight vertical, as long as you can get back to the other side. But at some point you have to make the call of like, okay, I need to jump through it. And then you kind of want to like almost anchor yourself in the back of it if you're trying not to get pulled with it. But sometimes that leash pulling your leg is so strong you have to let it pull you in. But I remember that I bailed too late. I see, JoJo, all the other guys making it out the back, and I'm just slowly going backwards, getting weightless. And I got tangled up with a friend. We get blown through the inside, like Aloe, the other guys in the ski are laughing. We're just getting pounded, and But it's like those learning lessons, you're like the little fish in the big pond. You're surfing with all these guys. They know you're fine, and you're kind of like figuring out that you're fine through those moments,
Yeah, I would imagine that kind of gnarly experience when you're a survivor. You're like, okay, I've been through it. Like, I can do it.
It either makes or breaks your session, because you either go through something like that at the beginning, and then you're like, okay, like that was fine. That wasn't too bad. That was the worst case. Or it just shatters your confidence. You're like, I don't want to go do that again,
Do you remember your first gnarly wipeout in waves of consequence like this, like Mavericks, or wherever your first like legitimate hold down was? Like, do you remember that one? Will like that one ever leave you?
No, well, it's funny because it was probably actually at like Cotton's.
Really? Down at Trestles?
At Trestles, but it was in high school, like the biggest day of the winter. I remember I left school early. My teacher was like, don't go surf. It's, it had been raining, but it was a solid like 8 to 10 foot. Like it was, because Cotton's gets pretty solid.
Yeah.
And I came real close to drowning. I made it out easy. I was sitting there, and then, impatience. You're like, okay, I'm gonna move in a bit. I was riding like a 5.4 or something.
You got
as you do on solid overhead waves, and caught inside, like just bailed and spun and running out of air, panicking, seeing like picturing all like everyone's so cliche, but you picture like the news headlines, your parents finding out everything. And it's like, I remember I like thought I was gonna drown, swallowed water, came out, like just got straight on the beach and went home. Like didn't catch a wave, and that took a long time to get over that fear.
That's a great teacher, right? Because if you're like, I almost drowned at Cotton's Trestles, and I know what that feels like, and it stuck with me. I better be really, really, really prepared by the time I get up to, Mavericks, Nazare, et cetera, right?
Yeah. No, it took a long time. That kind of thing sticks with you. That was one of the closest moments I think I've ever come to death, and it wasn't. By today's standards, right? It was. I wouldn't be worried about that at all, but back then it was. So
yeah. Wow. Crazy. Well, listen, I mentioned it before, but I know that you've gone through the Big Wave Risk Assessment Group. I actually had John Hoover in here as one of their master instructors. I went through the course probably 2 years ago. From a training and prep standpoint, I don't know if there's a better protocol to go through. Can you talk real quickly about the kind of, let's go into like the safety side of your training. So that's one piece, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think Bragg nails that right on the head. They have their Surf Responder Summit, which is kind of like their level 1 class that you would first take. And it gives you kind of a basic introduction to everything you could need. It goes, CPR, stopping a bleed, an arterial bleed, spinal, C-spine kind of injuries. And it dips into all of these different categories, but just enough to where you get the confidence. Like I remember coming out of it like not wanting something to happen, but being like, okay, if something happens, I'm ready.
Felt ready.
Yeah, definitely felt ready to like intervene. I remember like a lady had hit her head, and I went, and I was like, okay, like check, like practicing all the things.
You stepped in.
Yeah, practicing all the things you learned, and I couldn't recommend it enough for anyone that wants to surf bigger waves. It's a great group of guys. I mean, you've met all of them, I'm sure, at this point, and.
Well, one of the, I mean, if we're talking, I haven't asked you yet about any of your idols or icons in the sport, but Greg Long is one of the master instructors there, one of the founders of BRAG, and he probably taught your course, he taught my course, and along with some of these other guys. And meanwhile, he can still go out and send it with the best surfers in the world.
Yeah.
Big wave surfers in the world, and has some of the craziest stories and the craziest hold down stories and close encounters.
Greg's been through that for sure.
Yeah, so he's been on all sides of it, but just talk about like a calm, confident spirit. Like when I'm interacting with him, like that's the kind of person, those are the kind of people you want in your court if you're putting yourself out there, which I'm not, but you are. Like, if I see Greg or Hoover, any of those guys on a ski, I'm like, I would feel so comfortable.
Yeah. Those are guys you want in your corner 100%.
For as comfortable as I can be.
Yeah, any day of the week. Yeah, no.
Got it. Well, I know another part of your training was prone, and I mentioned at the very beginning. Talk about prone paddling and the role that's played, if at all, with you.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I wanted to get into prone paddling my whole life, and it was like a quiet dream. I think partially from watching Chasing Mavericks as a kid. Like you'd
that's
watch
the
him.
Jay Moriarty story, right?
Yeah,
Who
the Jay
died
Moriarty story
in doing free diving, not even surfing, right?
Yeah.
But ate it on one of the biggest waves. Like his iconic photo of stuck in the lip at Mavericks.
Like a 40, 50 foot wave.
At, I don't know, 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
So it's the kind of his story.
Kind of like.
And so that really stuck with you, that movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, I've watched that countless times since. So.
And in it, they prone paddle some of their training, their prone paddling across Monterey Bay as their
exactly.
training grounds, right? And that, okay, so
I remember I had made like in the movie he has a poster and it's like his breath hold, it's like the paddling distance, it's a few things. So I remember I took one of my surf posters, flipped it over, and I made my own little sketch of that. And like the Ben Carlson paddle, that was something I wanted to do for a long time as well. And I finally it kind of fell into my hands at the beginning of the season. My buddy was like, oh dude, I found this Hobie, and it was this old, that old red square tail Hobie I had, and a few $100. I was like, it's yours. So I took it and just didn't look back. I had no idea what I was doing. Joined like the El Moro Classic, the race. It's like 15 miles. And I was like, so delusional. I was like, dude, I could do so well on this, I bet. Like, had like a spring suit on, like on the oldest board, and just sprinted as hard as I could the whole time, like heart rate at like 200, just gave it everything I had. Like, I remember thinking at the end of that race, I was like, I'd way rather just go fling myself over a 50-foot wave ledge than do this again.
Again, the education of the first time doing something.
Yeah.
It's right?
Always humbling.
It's humbling, and it's super. If you're smart enough to recognize it, and it's educational. Like there's a couple people that did the bend that every week during the qualifying paddles, I would see him show up with some dumb decision they made, like didn't bring water, didn't bring food, wearing a full wetsuit, whatever it may be. And you're like, this guy hasn't learned. Where most people are like, oh, I went out, like I learned last time. I went out and did this, and I went out and got that, and I got my nutrition dialed.
I never wore a full wetsuit again.
No, can't do that. So where did you take it from there? After that education during we call it the Southwind Classic, the El Moro Classic.
Yeah, no, I just fell in love with it. It became like something I wanted to be as good at as anything. Like with surfing, it was just one of the most freeing things I've ever felt. Being out in the ocean, catching little waves, surfing them, being able to explore all these little nooks and crannies of our coastline. It was just like, it felt like I got like kind of like having a car on the water in a way. It's like or like a bicycle. It's like I can go all these miles, like I did paddles down to Oceanside from San Clemente. I did, a bunch through Laguna and Newport, and it was just really cool. It was a new challenge and like perfect training, for the big wave side of it, just paddling countless miles.
I mean, if you think of, big waves and paddlers, you have to think of Jamie Mitchell, 10-time Molokai winner, 10 years in a row, greatest of all time. And then he takes that same ability to paddle faster than anybody into catching bigger waves. Because the better you paddle, the further out you can sit, the faster stronger you can paddle. Like it translates so well to big boards, maybe not as much to smaller boards, but on big boards, it translates directly. So it would
you're
seem,
out of the water just that little bit extra. And
it would seem as a cross-training tool for you, it's amazing. And I also have to say, like thinking about what you do when you are spending so much time on a screen or, doing your content creation, which we'll talk about, because I'm super curious, because it is not time consuming. That is a time consuming. So I always love, like even just the podcast for me, I get 90 minutes of one-on-one, totally analog. We're just talking. There's no screens, like you're fully focused. And
nice, no phone.
Surfing's that way, big wave surfing, like nothing else matters.
No.
When you're out at Mavericks or NASA, right? There's nothing else in your head.
Yeah. It almost is like, it almost fries you a little bit because you're focused on so many little things, and you're just, you're constantly checking your lineups. You're paying attention to where you're drifting. You're constantly looking for sets. It's taxing. If you're out there for a few hours, it's nothing else.
So let me ask you this. So what's harder? A 30-mile prone paddle across the ocean or a 2-hour session, give or take, at Nazare or Mavericks? Which one's more taxing? I'm not talking physical or it's whatever. Which one's harder?
So that's a tough one.
I mean, one could kill you and the other one's probably not.
Yeah.
But from like I don't know. It's an interesting. It's not one most of us will ever have to question the difference.
They're both difficult in the sense that like you have to pace yourself, right? With the paddle, you don't want to burn yourself out. You can't go too fast. It's that long sustained effort. With the session, it's kind of the same thing, right? You don't want to just go out there and throw yourself on the first wave you see. You got to kind of sit there and read it. I think mentally it's more taxing to surf it, but physically for sure the paddle.
Really?
But I think your nervous system gets, I think you adjust to it over time, but you definitely feel pretty fried just because it's such a high adrenaline environment for you to be in, and especially at Mavericks because you're just sitting there. If you're lined up properly, you're square in front of the rocks, and you're hoping that like when you fall, the current's going to pull you the other way. But you talk to all the old guys that have been surfing there for a long time, and when I say old guys, I mean legends. The guys that have been there for a long time, and they tell you all these horror stories of getting swept in all these places, and you're thinking about everything the whole time you're there. Whereas at least paddling, you can put some music on, you can chat with your friends a little bit. Like maybe a little more enjoyable. You know, you get some more high bursts in the surfing.
I would imagine from a non-big wave guy that the level of adrenaline and your resting heart rate is like 800. Like for me, like I would, if you're trained up, let's assume you go into both these sports totally trained up.
Yeah.
Training to paddle long distance, it's enjoyable. It might hurt.
Yeah.
You know, conditions can get shitty or whatever, but it's
It should be enjoyable.
It's like running.
Yeah.
Like it's going to hurt, but there's an adrenaline, but it's more of a euphoric or
like dopamine
flow state.
or serotonin.
You're not going to find that. Like I can't imagine what you're feeling like when you are navigating everything you just mentioned out at big waves. So gnarly, but it's fun. It's fun to think of. Yeah. And then just real quick, how was the experience your first time paddling the channel in the bend?
Yeah.
When did go? How was that for you?
It was amazing. You know, I don't have my sea legs, so I was super scared because, well, we barely made it there. One of our motors blew on the boat, so we like had to putt across, you know, the channel to get there, and then all the spots in the harbor were taken, so we had to anchor, you know, outside of the harbor a bit. And I am notoriously bad at not getting seasick, so I'm sitting there sleeping on the couch next to this other guy, and we're just rocking. You're just picturing your boards flying off the boat because everything's just slamming, and somehow woke up feeling okay. But our captain dropped us way out, so it's like paddled through the dark to the beach, and then we were so lucky that day though. Like with the conditions, I almost felt like I didn't earn. Like once I hit the beach in Newport, I felt like I hadn't earned it. I was like, that was, I don't want to say too easy, but that was like the best case scenario for sure.
It was. We had as good of conditions as we could ask for.
Like when I got to the beach, I was like, I could have done another 5 hours of paddling that day. Like I was having so much fun. You know, I'd have the music going, I was catching waves, I was chatting with all kinds of cool people, and it was really special, you know, because it was like something I'd wanted to do for such a long time, something you had trained for a while to, you know, do all the qualifiers, do some races. Like you had put yourself in these situations of, you know, a lot of tough training, and for it to all kind of pay off into like a really enjoyable day was really cool. Because I had a friend that was like in the pain cave, suffering. We're all paddling with him, like, dude, you're doing good, you got it. Like I'll switch boards if you want. Like, so I was glad to not be in the pain cave that day. It was good to just enjoy it and feel all the hard work, I guess, pay off.
Rad. Well, it's another example of go in prepared. Like my background is not big waves, but it's prone paddling. And I made one mistake one year where I was ill prepared to do the channel, and it was one of the hardest days. And I'd already done it a couple times, and I got cocky, and I am like, I will never do that channel again ill prepared. I just won't. It's not worth it. It took all the fun out of it. It's brutal.
It's gnarly. I mean, even feeling all prepared, I mean, especially at the beginning, it's like we stopped every 5 or 6 miles, right? And it's like the beginning, you're like, okay, I feel pretty good, but that's kind of quick. And then like, you know, one of my friends was like, dude, I don't know if I can keep doing that. And you're just waiting for like, am I going to crash somewhere along this? And luckily that day, only a few people didn't make it, so that was good.
No, it was pretty awesome. Well, I'm glad you came and did it. It was really cool to have you out there.
I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah. Okay, I heard you. Yeah, I mean, you may have to go do the Catalina Classic with your training background. Like,
that made me want to try it because, especially on a day like that, I was like, dude, we had to keep slowing down, you know. And you're like,
if you're training like you are, which is equivalent to training like a pro athlete, you really are. There's no reason you shouldn't want to go.
No, test yourself just to see how
you stack up.
You can do it,
yeah, and it's again, there's a history of big wave surfing that I've always loved the history of surfing. A lot of it is based in Hawaii and it's big waves, and there's this history of it. Prone paddling has it's those same players, right? The Greg Knowles and the Tom Blakes, like these are the grandfathers of big wave surfing. Yeah. And prone paddling was how they trained for it. And they trained for it with, you know, back in the day when the boards were very antiquated, there was no safety systems, there was no flotation devices, there were no leashes.
Yeah, they're just out there.
On and on and on. Let me ask you this real quick, and I know I bounce around, but it's super interesting. So you mentioned some of the people that, like some of your idols and people that you've met. Like, how's it been starting to kind of, I don't know if rub shoulders, but interact with some of these people that, you know, you've been looking up to, I'm guessing, is you're like trying to figure out how to, over the last 2 years, figure out how to become really prolific and confident
in that world.
That world, and you've been looking at these guys, and now you're out there potentially with them. How is that for you?
So surreal. It's been one of the best parts of it for sure. You know, like I remember I met Grant Washburn at the Maverick Safety Summit, and I didn't recognize him, and he like put his number in my phone, and I was like, could you put your name too? And then he put his name, and I was like, what? Oh. You know, I was like, you know, I
absolute icon from Mavericks.
Yeah, right? You know, that guy knows that wave better than anyone. And I got to surf with him a lot this last season because he's definitely the most dedicated guy to that spot. So it'd be like windy, super windy on shore, and he's like, all right, 3 o'clock, that's our window, and we'd go for the craziest paddles and catch a few little bumps, and that's been cool.
Who better to learn from? Like he's
No
gonna,
one- yeah, no,
like
he's-
you and like I'm not going out there at 3 o'clock when it's windy. If Grant Washburn says, "Yeah, let's go,"
Yeah,
right? You're
well, he's
gonna
got
go.
all the lineups. Like we surfed it in the fog. I remember one day we were surfing it completely fogged in, and it was like Grant was sitting, the most on the bowl. I was sitting next to him, and then there was like another pack, and we're all kind of like huddled up, like trying to see what Grant's doing, like slowly following him. And then he caught one in, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm I'm all on my own now. But it's been cool. Him, getting closer, meeting Greg more too. Like Greg's helped me out a lot with Greg Long. He actually gave me a sled for my ski.
Wow.
So he's been walking me through getting that set up, and I borrowed one of his boards in Puerto for like the big day. So
let me ask you this about, it's like, what has it been, do you think, about you that you've gotten the acceptance or interactions with the Grant Washburns, the Greg Longs, and others? Like, what is it, because they see you respectfully chasing it and doing the work? Is it because you're proving yourself out there? Like, what do you think it is?
I don't know. I was thinking that this morning. I'm still trying to figure that out. It's been really humbling again and really cool. Like it's been a dream come true for people that you really look up to take stake in you or to kind of invest in whatever you're doing and take you under their wing in different ways, teach you different things. I hope it's my approach that it's been sincere and they see that I really want to do it to whatever level I can. And I think a lot of big wave surfers like want that opportunity to give back too, because the older I get, the more I want to help help other people out too. It's like, oh yeah, I've got those boards, like you could borrow that board, or I think it's really fulfilling to go full circle with it. So, but I couldn't tell you fully why. I'm still wrestling with that one.
Well done, because I don't believe that people like that would take you in if they didn't see, again, I think that sincerity and that real desire, and you're doing the work, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can show up, and there's all kinds of conversations in the big wave world that I watch or read, about people showing up that haven't done the work, don't have the knowledge, haven't done the prep, haven't really earned their spot, and they put themselves in harm's way, and then they need somebody else to rescue them and all that stuff. So I think, again, for anybody that looks at your feed, you will see all the work. I mean, you've defined it and detailed it, and very self-deprecating when you're eating shit or whatever.
Yeah. You gotta be, right?
and has that same, I'll call acceptance, happened elsewhere? Like, talk about some of the other places you've gone over the last year and a half chasing this. Like, where have you gone? What's it been like?
Yeah, I mean, notably, I guess, the wedge right over here, and Puerto and Nazare.
So Puerto Escondido is Mexico, Nazare is Portugal. The wedge is 2 miles from where we sit right here.
I was going to go stop by after,
There you go.
It's been cool because it's like I got recognized in Puerto, I got recognized in Nazare, but like in a positive light. Like you're always a little worried. You're like, especially at Nazare, because I had paddled out solo, for one of the sessions, because, all the guys I think at Car Surf, like these guys just want to charge. Like they're all crazy to me. But somehow I was the only guy that wanted to go that morning, or at least the first one to go. So I went out solo, and a guy came up to me on a ski, and I was like, he's going to come yell at me, but then he was like, oh, like I've seen your videos. And his name's Gagao, and he's like super humble charger, like incredible surfer. And he was like, I'll drop you off at Second Peak, and so it's been really cool around the world, I guess. So far, it's been in a positive light, so it's been cool. It definitely opens more doors too,
Yeah. Well, you'd mentioned to me offline this morning, we were talking, like you're starting to have boards in different places. Like
slowly, I've learned that's the way of the big wave surfer. When I went to Puerto, we had the biggest south swell of the season, and I had only up to an 8.0. So luckily Greg, all those guys have all their boards there at Dan's in Puerto, and he let me borrow one. So I've been trying to slowly stash mine. Like in Portugal, I left my 10.4 because I paid probably $500 to get my boards there and back, and they pretty much let me store it. It's like $50 a year, so it's nothing in the grand scheme of traveling with it, So slowly, I'm like planning how am I going to get a board to Puerto for next season, and then so on. Slowly stash them.
Well, let me ask you this: so you've been on this quest, this mission for 18 months now, about?
Yeah, about a year and a half.
Okay, it's still. I mean, for you to have gone not from zero. Your base was not a zero. Your foundation was already strong. You're surfing a lot in bigger waves in San Diego and stuff. But I think for most people to say, I have a goal, and in 18 months, you're surfing biggest waves in the world, meeting and spending time with some of the most notable people, stashing boards at all these different breaks.
Yeah.
How long do you see this? Like, what's the long-term vision or goal of this? Like, is this just the beginning of a thing, or is this like the rest of your life? Like, what do you hope this looks like?
I hope it's the rest of my life. You know, I truly do. I've never felt so, like, I guess, happy. You know, like when I was in Portugal, before I got hurt at least, and I had gotten a few waves, it was like everything was coming together. Like the social media was blowing up. My surfing I was peaking from, you know, the training, like October, November, I was just in really good shape, really confident. And it's just a way I want to keep feeling for as long as I can. And of course the injuries end up reminding you that, you know, you have to, that's what I've been learning this week. It's been a slow week, you know, so like mentally, physically, it's been like trying to practice patience and realize like the longevity in it isn't just going out and sending the biggest wave you see, but it's sitting out there and trying to learn and take it one day at a time, know when to step away. And I mean, the dream for me would be to eventually surf in the eddy. And that's a big dream for anyone, you know.
That's the biggest recognition of your abilities in big wave surf is the Eddy ICAL, getting an invitation to that.
Like the biggest honor in surfing. So
that's your goal?
That's the dream.
Dude, I love that.
And, you know, part of me, of course, you don't know if you could actually do it, but the only way you'll find out is by trying. So, yeah, just one day at a time and try to show up at all the spots I can when there's big waves and put my best foot out there, you know. And slowly, I think anything's possible, so why not?
Dude, that's incredible. I love that. Well, let's not even go there. With this goal or this dream, like what would it take for you to get, do you think, for you to get that invitation to the Eddy? Like, what do you think you have to do from this point on, and what does that look like?
I think many years of like serious dedication. You know, of course, surfing the biggest waves in the world when you can, showing up. I think having a presence online definitely will help as far as you getting recognized and getting seen. I'm sure I need to spend quite a few winters in Hawaii.
Have you spent much time at Waimea?
I haven't spent any time.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing that.
I have not been, so maybe later this season because it's been a funky one for us here.
Yeah.
But a lot of hard work. I mean, truly, like, I want to be the best I can, and so I hope that by being the best I can take myself to that level at some point. But the goal is, you know, like sponsors and making money off the social media and making a life around, you know, traveling and surfing all these different waves. So it was cool because in Portugal, I kind of saw that was doable. You know, I had my like YouTube video kind of pop off. It got like 250,000 views.
Wow.
So it paid me like $2,000 just from ad revenue. And I was like, that pretty much paid for the trip. So I'm like, if I can, you know, make a few good videos at these different waves I visit, I can probably fund this lifestyle at least a little bit now. And then hopefully at some point I can figure out different avenues to take it to that next level. But it really is just mainly trying to invest in myself, the training, the surfing. You know, it's like if I have a busy day, that's the one thing I'm not going to skip is like the breath work and the training. I'll miss a video, but it's like I'm not going to miss the thing that I actually want to be. Right? That's what I try to, I guess, live by, you know.
You know, it's really interesting, Nathan, because, you know, I train down at the Newport Aquatic Center right down here, and we have a lot of people that are going for the Olympics, national level paddlers and rowers. And in the paddling, the surf ski and the K1, which is the canoe and kayak, there's no money in it.
Yeah.
So people that are trying to pursue that as a lifestyle, they are sacrificing a lot because they know there's no money in it. There can be some ancillary and some sponsorship, but it's not a lucrative gig. It's not basketball. It's not football.
Yeah.
It's more like what you're doing, which is if I can scrape enough together to support the lifestyle, I'll do it as long as I can. It's not glamorous, but again, at 24 with a van and a quiver, you can do a lot.
Yeah. Some airline points, you know. I signed up for a new credit card, so
see, and so you're learning the game, the game of
you've got to try to hack your way.
The business of surf, or the business of sport, or the business of social media or creation. It's an interesting path, but it sounds like, I mean, when you're getting 250,000 views, you've got a lot of followers, like it's working. And again, I think that authentic storytelling has been really compelling, right? It seems like, again, if people are, it goes back to what you said about acceptance. Like you have this authentic, sincere approach to what you're trying to do out of love and passion for for it
Yeah.
and not some ancillary bullshit
not doing
way.
it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And I think that was cool too, because it was like I made that video. I just went for a surf at Nazare with my GoPro, and like I didn't fluff it up. I wasn't like, oh, we're out, like I was just myself. It was just like, okay, it's like 20 foot. I'm scared, like, and I just showed it, And I think a lot of people's perspectives on surfing, and from the best guys that are doing it, like Nathan Florence and Cora Rothman, these guys on YouTube, it's like they're great. Like Nathan does a good job of showing that whole process, but I think people are maybe interested in seeing like from my perspective, because they're like, well, this kid's not a Nathan Florence, but he's I guess he's a Nathan with a beard and a camera, So like, just showing the whole journey. Like a lot of people hadn't seen a paddle out at Nazare, so that's why that one did well. So it's like, can I go to these different waves and just share a slightly different perspective, and will that do well for me?
Yeah. Well, the story is so different because the names you just mentioned, like Nathan Florence, John's brother, like these guys have grown up there, and their social media and their videography and stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
But they've grown up in the best waves, and they've really built. They've been doing it, and you're like an average guy that made a decision to go chase a dream.
Yeah.
And I think and the way you've captured it, I think shows that really, really well. There was one of the videos I watched, and you were just out at Nazare paddling around trying to get away of like 2 hours, not catching anything. And I was like, I don't want to be out. Like, I have no interest. Like, I love watching it, but like personally, like I've never had the desire to go put myself like when that horizon, let me turn it into a question. When you're out at any of these spots and the horizon goes black, which means there's a set coming way further out than anybody anticipated, and you might get stuck inside.
Yeah.
Tell me, I'm sure you have an experience like that, or two or three.
Oh yeah, a couple.
What does that feel like when truly it is a wall of water coming, and you're starting to triangulate, going,
where do I need
there's
to be?
a good chance I'm not going to make this. Okay, changes everything in your mindset, right?
I try to not look at it for as long as I can, honestly. So it depends where I am. Well, I guess not really. I just head down, try to keep the breathing calm, paddle as efficiently as I can without sprinting, without jacking up your heart rate. And I think it's a mental trick for me. But like the longer I keep as pace on it, like, okay, where is it? Where am I? But like I don't sit there like staring at it because it's scary. So I kind of like look down and just be ready for the worst. Be ready to bail and swim down. And at Mavericks, it's terrifying because it's just such a slab, and getting pulled over the falls or getting caught inside there is so incredibly violent. I mean, Nazare can still get similar to that, but it's like if it's a softer big wave, it's a lot less scary than when it's a giant slab. So I think
slab being it's just going to be a major impact,
pulling
gnarly.
out thick, just
and meanwhile
barreling.
it's really cold and really dark and deep.
Very deep, yeah. And Mavericks is a trip because it breaks onto this ledge and then it rolls off of the ledge back into really deep water. So you'll fall, you'll get picked up, right? Fall, weightless, get smashed, and then you'll be underwater and you'll fall again.
Oh.
And it'll feel like you're in like an underwater waterfall. So you'll fall again off this ledge into really deep water. And those are the moments where you really are like, I need to pull this vest because I'm not going to come up from here. And it'll get like that eerie silence. Your ears are ready to pop, and it's a real trip.
Nathan, I've always said I love a good adventure, and I like to push it, and then I like to sleep in my bed that night. Like I'll go run a marathon, I'll go ride 100 miles, I'll go paddle across the channel.
Yeah,
I've just never had that. So for folks like you that like it or have come to accept that part of the game, I give you huge praise. I've never had it. So, and most surfers don't. Most of us I like my waves warm, long, and small. You like cold and A-framing and scary.
Yeah, I think you do have to have a wire loose or something to like really to enjoy that, because I do see some guys paddle out there and you just see the fear of God in their eyes, and you're like, dude, you don't have to be out here, but they might feel compelled like I am, and maybe that's something they're pushing through to be there,
Yeah.
So
hey, hallelujah! It's fun to watch.
It's
fun to watch.
So a good wipeout clip's always good.
Well, let's talk about it. We're talking about wipeout clips and putting yourself in harm's way and doing all the training for it. Because again, if you see that massive set coming and you're like, okay, I'm probably not going to make it. I'm sure when you think back to all those times you've done sprints up the hill and then held your breath, you're like, I've done the work.
Yeah.
Like I'm prepared.
And that's the biggest thing, I think, is being able to fall back onto that so you don't panic. Because if you're saying you're going to be afraid when that wave lands on you, right, and you're getting pounded and you're thinking about when that next one is coming, like it's good to be afraid. But it is the panic that determines potentially whether you're going to live or drown, right? And that helps me so much. And it's interesting because I've surfed with guys that are like, dude, normally I drink 5 beers and I take acid before I paddle out here. And I'm like,
What?
yeah, like I've surfed with guys. He's like, this is the first time I'm surfing it sober. And I'm like, what?
Really?
And I think with big wave surfing, and especially in the past, if you look at it, like a lot of these guys are adrenaline junkies. Like they're dudes in the past were, doing hard drugs and going out and surfing Mavericks, right? And it was this whole rock and roll thing. There was all this money in it. They're getting thrown a lot of money to get these magazine covers, whether they make it or not, just at the top of huge waves. And it's taken such a quinoa turn. I think John
Right.
said that at one of the brags over the last few years. But it's good to see, because it's like, that's the way we should approach it, is with, respect and preparation and humility, and not like, I'm some crazy rock star. I'm going to go, out there and just send it. But
I remember watching or reading about some of those names. We won't even use those names, about how they were surfing it like that for a long time. Big name, notable, big wave guys at Mavericks and stuff were like
guys,
raging. Like, I had no idea.
No, it's so gnarly. And
So gnarly.
I'd be so scared if that was me. I'm like, I can't even fathom it. So
No. Well, again, being able to manage, like, there's toe-in surfing, which I know you're doing some of, but I think you're really more like focused on the paddle, right?
I think, the paddle's a lot more of a fun challenge, I think.
And I think, it'll get, at certain days it gets too big and you're like, I'm sure you're doing some getting behind the sled and
I haven't towed yet.
You haven't towed yet?
No, I have a tow board, but it's
the guys, right?
I've got a ski. I'm ready to do it. I just need to get that thing set up and I can go do it, but
I'm sure that's not far off, because I know some of the guys you've talked about, Alo Sabir, who's ridden one of the biggest waves. Like, I think you've hung out with him, and Luca Padua, Laird's right hand little brother, and I mean from Mavericks area. So
good guys to know in that
you're
world.
in right company for sure.
Yeah,
we look forward to watching you do that too.
That'll be fun.
But let's talk about real quick the impacts of all of this. Like, so you've been dealing with an injury.
Yes.
Pretty good one. You want to talk about what that's been all about?
Yeah. It was like we had surfed Nazare for the first swell of the season, pretty much opening swell. And
when was this?
This was beginning of November, maybe like the 10th or 11th, somewhere around there.
So 2 months ago.
About 2 months ago, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I got hurt on the 17th. It was like between swells. It was like a 3-foot day. Just picked up, went on a little closeout.
Hold on, 3 foot. You're surfing 50-foot surf and you got hurt on a 3-foot wave?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's why, because, we'd surfed it the week before and it was, 40 foot, whatever. And you're like, okay, it's 3 foot today. Like, let's just mess around. We'll go on everything and just pack these little barrels, and just picked the wrong one to pack. Like, went right, fell, picked me up. It felt like I just landed straight on dry sand. It felt like there's no water. Square, flat on my back, like kind of a tucked position, but right on the lower back. Felt it crack, like legs went atrophied, like numb for a second. Wow. I was like, wow, I just broke my back. I was thinking, I don't know if you know Scott Muir.
Yeah, he paddled the bend with us, and he broke his neck
at Oceanside.
Yeah.
On that swell.
He's going to be in here one of these days too.
Yeah, you should. He's such a good guy.
Great story. He's coming back.
Yeah. So like I was thinking of Scott. I was thinking of all these things. I'm like, wow, I was, and in my head, that's always one of my biggest fears. I'm like, it almost feels like it's not a matter of if, it's when. With certain waves we surf, it's like there's a really good chance you're going to break your back, especially at like the wedge. It's it's hard to not think about that thing. So I was like, well, it just finally happened, and luckily my friend was on the inside. I got on my board. I'm like, my feeling came back enough, and I was like, I think I just broke my back. And he's like, what? And we were like at the cliff at Nazare, starting to get sucked back out by the current, and he helps me up on the beach and got me, help, got me to the hospital, x-rays, and not broken. So it's just been, it's been a few weeks. I probably bruised it pretty good or have some soft tissue damage. I didn't do an MRI, but it's like progressed enough each day. I'm
feeling pretty good.
Going to the gym and squatting and doing more dynamic stuff again. So I'm just trying to be patient.
What do you think the timeline is? Like what's the next time a big swell comes and you're like, I can go chase it?
If like Todos was big tomorrow, I would go.
You would?
Yeah. If it's big, I'd probably still go, but I'd be a little more careful.
What's more careful at Mavericks on a big swell?
Well, Mavericks, you can kind of avoid it. Like, not just fully shoulder hopping, but you can, if it's such a small, I mean, it's almost like this table as far as space goes for where the bowl's really breaking on like a normal day. So you can always sit off a little bit.
Got it.
Like when I went back last February, I ruptured my eardrum last January surfing. So I surfed Mavs like February, March with like, a partially ruptured eardrum. So it was kind of one of those two where it was like, you'd have a bad fall and then you're like, did I just blow that back out? And so I'm kind of used to being semi-injured with it now, at least. But it's a chance you take.
Yeah, got
for
it.
sure. Going back to earlier.
Yeah, and to try to mitigate as much, are you using full? Like, are you fully wearing the impact suits and inflatable flotation vests and the whole bit most of the time?
Last year, I didn't for my first season at Mavs. I just had the pole vest. I didn't have any impact or anything, which it's like a catch-22. You'll talk to a guy like Grant Washburn, and he swears by having as little as possible because he'll show me photos of him like feet in the air, swimming down like a 50-foot wave breaking, and he's like, yeah, I made it through that one. Like, whereas if you have all this flotation, you're not making it through that. But I do really like having the impact nowadays. So like at Puerto, I would wear the impact on like the biggest days, and then Nazare, I did both impact and the inflation because with the impact, you don't have to pull as often because you're generally going back up, and you don't have to fight as hard to get back up, which is good. But yeah, if you're caught inside, you're definitely caught inside then,
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22, but I think in general, it's a lot better to have more than less.
I think so. I mean, I mentioned like the old days of, the forefathers rushing surfing Waimea with no leashes on longboards, more or less.
Yeah, and board shorts.
And they're swimming.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no skis. Nothing. You're 100% on your own. Like, think how fit those and competent those guys were. Like, really amazing.
Yeah, I surfed Mavs a few times this season with just in a wetsuit, no inflation, no impact, just because I was like, on small days to be like, well, I should feel confident enough to go out there and do this. But it's a different world. You're sitting there and you're like, okay, because it's always Mavericks, right? So if there's any waves breaking on the bowl, you're like, a pretty big set could come. But it is freeing in a way too to get like pounded with no way out and then just be like, okay, well, I really do have to just settle in for the ride,
Yeah, and I think it probably keeps you very aware that you've done the work, right? Because people can cheat it, right? Somebody can show up. I think this is what goes back to that acceptance. I think that a lot of the real OGs and the real serious people like yourself and these teams that are going out there with safety and they're doing all the work and everybody's doing all the training and the Kailenis, like everybody's got like teams and they've done all the work and then people come out that really don't, from my understanding, shouldn't be out there. Yeah. They're not coming out with their own safety. They're not coming out there with the training.
Yeah.
They really shouldn't be there. And I think this is the downside of social media.
Yeah.
I can go do this. I can go here and do this and this and this. And it puts everybody else in harm's way.
I do worry about that with it sometimes, because you never really know, who it's speaking to, if someone's actually going to put in the work and go out there and do it. Mavs is pretty self-regulating as its own as a wave, but also the local crew. Like, I remember some guy bailed in front of one of I think my friend Lawrence, one of those swells, just a Barney move. Like, he shouldn't have been like there at that time, or like what he did there, And Allo or someone was like, yeah, dude, you gotta, you're done for today. Like,
some regulating.
Yeah, so there's definitely like that aspect of it, which is good. But I think it's you got to be ready to self-rescue too at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I like about Grant was he was like it is Mavericks, yes, but it's still also just a wave at the end of the day. So it's like, if you want to go surf it, you don't have to have a ski. I mean, once it's big enough, you really do have to have a ski. But like, if you're trained, you need to be ready to be on your own, because when you really need that help, they're not going to be able to get to you. Like if you're in the rocks, you're on your own. If you're here and there, so I think having that approach has been good. We'd surfed it some kind of hairy days alone, where you definitely have to know when to call it and not go on a wave. But it's I think that's part of the freeing nature of what I love with surfing and big waves. Is just getting away from it, and like I don't need 100 guys out there. It's like the days where we surfed it, like 4 of us. It's like those are my favorite sessions,
Yeah, nobody likes a crowd.
No.
We have enough crowds.
Yeah.
For it to be crowded out there, and with skis and whatever else, seems like it would be just super sketch.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit over to the social media side and the funding of this adventure that you're on.
Yeah.
Talk a bit about the fund. Like we mentioned earlier, living out of the van, you're kind of on a shoestring, but you're still living and you still need gear and you got to sleep, you got to eat, and you're flying a bunch. Like, how are you funding this adventure?
Mostly with work in the off seasons, so like I would do some random work up in NorCal, trimming trees with a friend, or I helped Allo out that one day last season. And so like I'll try to find like random things that I can, or like I worked at Murph, over the summer a bit. But
the bike place?
The bike place, yeah. But companies, I mean, like Vea's helped me out a lot. So they've given me like, travel bags and gear. And
awesome.
It's been really cool because that's also been a dream to come, where you're like,
You're
what?
a sponsored athlete.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, come take what you need. You're like, huh?
Wow.
So slowly it's been more companies like Surfline to help, they threw me like a paid video or two here and there. So like those kinds of things go a long way, because it doesn't take a ton of money. I've learned that you can travel with less than, or at least less than I used to think. So just trying to stretch that and save it when you can.
Rad. What other sponsors? Who else is backing you up?
I mean, I'd have to say Neff Homegrown Surfboards up in Davenport. I mean, he's made me the tow board and the gun pretty much for helping him out for the weekend and a little more. So other than that, Algorithm in the past has helped me out as well. So
who's that? I don't know who that is.
It's a company down in Oceanside where at least Brian, he's the shaper for them, and he shapes. He used to shape for like Super and stuff back in the day.
Gotcha.
But I mean, he's an incredible shaper. Like a lot of the Puerto guys ride their boards. Can't say enough good things about him. Really.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's bring it to social media. So you mentioned how you started in social media when you were a kid. Like when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones. So like this is still all new for us. And for so many reasons, I would like to get off of it because,
Same.
But like I was listening to somebody who's like, hey, listen, if you don't like your feed, just go bring up, unicorns and puppies and kids and like positive stuff for 2 days. And that's what your feed becomes. So you got to be real careful. So if I watch enough of you, I get a lot of surf, which is really actually what I like.
Yeah.
But just walk us through what's it been like content creation. It sounds like you've done it for a long time, or you've understood the game between the social and the YouTube videos and everything. Mm-hmm. But it's a time consuming thing.
Yeah.
Like just talk about how it's been, the process and what that's like.
It's always a little bit time consuming, and I'm sure I have far from the perfect process when it comes to making videos. But like it's real easy when you're out there surfing the big waves and you're like, oh, okay, I got a drone clip of me getting caught inside by a 30-foot wave. Well, you just post that and it'll do well. But to make a compelling...
Isn't that funny? Everybody loves to watch people get shellacked.
Well, because a lot of people are like, I can't even imagine. And you're like, in the moment, you're like, that wasn't that bad. But looking back, it is a good clip. But no, making like a captivating script, and especially like we were talking, like fitting that into 30 to 45, 60 seconds, whatever, and like trying to get your point across, trying to get people to see what your story is without sounding the wrong way or coming off brash or arrogant or whatever it is, and like doing that in a compelling way consistently is definitely difficult. Like I've definitely felt a little bit of burnout, maybe not burnout, but like writer's block recently, where you're just like, okay, like especially in the office, like I'm injured at home. I'm like, what am I gonna? There's nothing going on right now, So it can be taxing in the sense of like sometimes trying to force it, but then like today, or like I put like a timer on my phone. I'm like, okay, just 24 hours. I'm not going to open the app, and like I just need a little break. And I think it goes back to anything. It's just pacing yourself and trying to focus more on the YouTube, because it's like, okay, well, I can get paid a little bit from the YouTube videos now. So if I can kind of focus and channel more energy into that, I think that's more of the long-term play as far as building a brand and getting your name out there and whatever it is. More so than Instagram.
Do you treat it like a job?
I try to, yeah. I'll wake up, I'll make sure my room and my office are in one, so I'll clean everything, make sure it's all good, and I'll sit there and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna script, okay, I'm gonna record this, okay, I'm gonna edit, and like you have to hold yourself, because otherwise you're just unemployed at home, and it's like, if I have this time.
Isn't that funny? It's just a tilt. Yeah. I'm at home in my room. I can be employed or unemployed, just in perspective and how you spend your time.
And it's great because it gives you so much flexibility. It's your friends are like, oh, dude, let's go do this. It's like, okay, like I can do that. I can do this work whenever, and that's why I love it so much. But it is a fine line of like being too hard on yourself and like burning yourself out because you're like, okay, I should be doing better. I should be doing this. I should be doing that, and not doing enough. And that's a line I definitely dance between sometimes, trying to figure out, do I have a realistic perception of how much effort I'm putting in, or am I cutting corners and telling myself I'm doing more than I am? So it's interesting,
Yeah. Well, I have to do social media for this just to get it out there. And I'm like, hey, Nathan, can you do this for me? Because it's the last thing I want to do, but it's part of the world. But it's also so different, like if I'm working at work, I kind of know what my value is per hour or whatever. But social media, there's no guarantee that that's going to generate anything, or you have to do, a whole bunch of different posts for it to be, a compounding benefit.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's just a different mindset, and just to be 100%. Able to do it. However, you're editing surfing videos that you're doing all over the world and trying to make something compelling and cool out of it. Like, it's pretty rad that you can do that.
It's the dream.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've realized through the process is like, I am living my dream, you know, like when those things are doing well, or I'm starting to make a few bucks doing them, I'm like, yeah, this is pretty surreal because it's what I've wanted to do. And it's like, you catch yourself. It's like, even just having this van parked outside, it's like, I've wanted that van for so long. Like just having that van is the dream itself. And then to be able to like, be like, oh yeah, I surfed Mavericks or these different waves. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I'm hard on myself and I'm kind of like, well, you should be doing all that already. But it's like, it's good to take a step back and be like, yeah, like a year and a half ago, I was nowhere near this. So it's like, if I keep working hard, and that's what one of my friends told me who's quite successful with the whole social media and at least making a living from that. Like he makes a good amount of money. And he's like, dude, you just keep doing it. He's like, it's just input based. You keep putting that in and at some point, like it'll work. Like you're already proving that. So just stick with it. And I think that's the most important lesson that any of it's taught you is just like not focusing on the output, focus on the input. It's like if I make a good video that I believe in and it does bad, it's okay because like I know I put effort into it and I thought it was good. Whereas when you phone it in and it does bad, you're like, well, yeah, you know, that's what I get. And just being patient with it is what I'm trying to practice these days.
I think it's smart. I mean, I think if you think of it like a career, you don't start making the huge bucks the first year. Like it takes time. Ironically, this morning I was listening to a podcast and it's one of the top podcasts in the world. And the guy goes, you know, I've got, I think he has like 1,100 episodes out. He's like, I didn't start making it until over 400. He's like, so, and he even said, he spoke to me. He's like, for all you podcasters out there, like it didn't start clicking until well past 400.
Yeah.
He's like, so just understand it's not going to happen overnight. And I always say like in the business world or in the trades, like you're an apprentice, you're getting beat up for the first 2 years, 3 years while you're learning because you're learning. And then you can 100%. Go off on your own. So I think that like anything else, part of it is just the learning process and earning your keep and, you know, building the base.
And I think that's huge. And trusting that process, you know, because it's so like, I was lucky in the sense that I had a lot of success early on. Like, I think I got like 20K followers on Instagram in the first few months because it was all like, okay, I'm training to surf Mavericks. It's like, I'm going to go do it. And looking back, like, I would love to see someone else do that because I had no idea, you know, what I was stepping into. So like for guys like Alo or Luca that have been surfing that wave their whole lives, to see some kid do that, it's probably fun to watch, you know, because they're like, is he going to just go flop or is he going to, it's a scary wave, you know, you never know. But I also think, sorry to interrupt, but I also think that those guys to see that a year and a half ago, if they saw it at the time, and then to now have you in their sphere of influence and you can call Grant Washburn on your phone and like, dude, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. And I think it speaks to how you've been doing it and that you have been doing it. You've been doing all the hard work and you've come out there with, you know, this sincere passion to do it without being a douchebag, right? Having certain phone numbers in your phone these days, it's like what? You know, like, and that's goes back towards like, being a little kid, I'm like, I would think that's the coolest thing in the world. And I guess that shows you're on the right path, you know, when you start having those things accumulate. So it's been cool.
Are you living your dream?
I definitely am, yeah. And that's one thing I think makes it stressful because you're like, am I gonna, you know, you can't hold on too tight to that. You got to just stay on the path you're on and not like be worried about losing it. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I couldn't imagine doing anything else right now.
So let me ask you then, magic wand, 5 years from now.
Yes.
What, and we're sitting here in 5 years. What do you hope these next 5 years look like for you?
I just hope continued growth, you know, and as myself as a person, you know, like growing up, more so financial literacy, being able to make a living from what I'm doing, but then also athleticism and my surfing. You know, I want to be able to go, I guess, say I've surfed dungeons in South Africa. I've surfed, you know, I've been to Bali. I've been to Punta Lobos, you know, Mahogany, all these different waves. And hopefully I'll have a few more sponsors by then or, you know, some more official money coming in, making some more, some better YouTube videos and stuff. And hopefully doing the same thing, though, honestly.
Rad.
So.
And maybe an Eddie
maybe an alternate or an invite one year, you know.
When you get the Eddie invite, you're coming back and we're going to talk.
I would love to. Yeah, that'd be a full circle dream, yeah.
That would be incredible. But listen, the whole thing, I just want to say, like, for someone to take a dream and turn it into reality and to do it in a relatively short amount of time, it's, again, somebody goes, I want to be in the Olympics, in 18 months. Like it just doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
so to go, I want to be an elite. I want to be doing an elite sport. And again, maybe you're not the top of the top, but you are you're out there
Yeah.
on those days with those guys.
It's surreal. Yeah.
It's incredible. And what an accomplishment. And I hope that, I'm guessing that you're very driven, clearly. A lot of times people that are driven don't reflect on what they've accomplished because we're always looking forward.
Yeah.
So I hope you
definitely.
reflect on, especially now as you're coming back from an injury, but like you said, gosh, I've done this. Just look at my phone, look at my number of followers, look at the comments that people are making, look at the people that come up to me and want to introduce myself, that I've earned my way. Like I'm just super impressed by how you've done it.
Thank
and
you.
it's rad for us out there that never want to surf waves like that to watch people go, I want to do it, and then go after it. I mean, that's really what this my podcast is about, is like, I love understanding how people do great things and why.
Yeah.
And the story's rad. It's
thank
really,
you.
really cool, Nathan. Super stoked for you.
You know, I always just want to be a man of my word. So I think, you know, making all those videos too, I was like, I'm going out there no matter what. And I think I really got the opportunity to like show that I had heart in it, maybe on that December swell when it was the day before the biggest day when Allo got that crazy wave. And just being able to be a little naive, but go out there and charge and come out of it unscathed because of the work, I think. And those moments are defining for you, you know, because you're like, I remember sitting there so scared, just like, should I go back in? Like I was surfing it pretty much all alone. Everyone's in the channels watching you, like, you know, like, what is this kid doing? And then I just remember telling myself, it's like, okay, you said you'd do it. You said you'd be here. So you got to go, or you got to go in. And I just hope I get more moments like that, you know, in the future to choose to go and hopefully make the waves for the next ones. But
it sounds like you're on the path. Well, we can't wait to watch. For anybody that wants, I know we said at the very beginning, where are you on YouTube, and then again on Insta or anywhere else?
Yeah, Jet Ski Surfer on YouTube and TikTok, and then Jet Ski Surf XXR on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you search Jet Ski Surf, hopefully it comes up at this point.
I think it'll come right up. There's a lot of great content on there. Dude, so rad. Thank you so much for sharing the story. Like really, it was one of those like, again, I was like a natural, like, whoa, I didn't know this. Like it was so fun when your feed popped up and I was like, oh, I just saw him paddling. I didn't know he was doing this rad adventure. So
yeah,
I love the story. It's super cool.
Yeah, I'm glad that this could be a part of it. I'm glad that the paddle was a part of all of it too. So stoked.
Well, we can't wait to watch and see what you do next. So
yeah, hopefully we'll come back in a few years. And
5 years. We're coming back
5-year plan,
with that Eddie invitation around your neck. Nathan, thank you so much for being here, buddy. This was awesome.
Of course, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, rad.